Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of A Piece of Ash. This is my weekly sit and talk show where you guys can find out what's going on with me, find out what's going on in the world of wargaming, and we usually talk about or editorialize about a certain topic while I work on projects. Also, depending upon how well the naps of my son go, this goes from an hour to 90 minutes. Last week he had Cash crashed the stream, as you do. I should have just named him Crash, and hung out with us for a little while. So we will be doing some Dracula's America this week. That's what we're working on. This is Osprey Wargames' Old West horror game, which is super cool, which I'm excited to be starting to work on this week. If you check out my Facebook page, I've just finished off a whole bunch of the Twilight Order for that game. The Twilight Order being a bunch of sort of like supernatural hunters who have come to North America after basically Dracula flees to North America from them as he's being hunted. And then they sort of like start hunting all the other supernatural factions. The premise of it is that Dracula assassinates Lincoln and takes over the country, and then the country fractures. The expansion west turns into like the flight away from the vampires, and all these factions arise. The South embraces necromancy to literally rise again, and that's the faction I'm working on today, which is going to be the Dark Confederacy, which is basically evil necromancer Colonel Sanders leading his Confederate, like ragged Confederate troops, and a bunch of Confederate zombies that he's raised from the dead, which is going to be super neat. So we've got that we're working on. So I'm building those guys. I got a whole bunch of like critters to work on for the game too, because the game does have a bunch of critters in it. So you've got like a Sasquatch I've got to paint, a Hellhound. You can get a Chupacabra and a Jackalope and all that cool stuff. And that's coming up in the future. So today's editorial, what we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about actually a topic that came out of last week's topic. So if you guys haven't watched last week's Piece of Ash, you can go watch it right now on my channel. There's a playlist for Piece of Ash, and it was the one about miniature board games and how miniature board games are becoming like a thing in the market. People are kind of chasing that as a topic, and the reasons for that, of course, you've got money, free time, and the downforce and upforce of those things as you're younger and older. That actually spawned a further discussion as to why aren't there more miniature games that have one-player rules? And one-player rules have existed for a long time. Actually, there used to be a logo on Games Workshop games that said solo play rules included. Space Hulk used to be pitched as a game that you could solo play. Because if you just ran the Gene Stealers on a pre-program and they run around on their own, you could just play as the Terminators and never have to have anybody play as the Gene Stealers. It was a bit easier to win then, because what typically happened was the Gene Stealers would just pile into the closest guy until he was dead. But it made it so that you could play the game by yourself. And that's something that's come up in two recent games. That's what I think prompted the question, which is why is this not something people explore? And it makes sense if you think about it in a way, because even today, with as much as the industry's grown in miniature wargaming, there's still not a ton of sort of like mass market awareness of it as a hobby. You might be the only person, I think a lot of my viewers actually might be the only person they know that's really into miniature wargaming. They might know one or two other people they see not very often. And they tend to meet people that also play miniature wargaming through places they already congregate, like stores that sell it, the internet, Facebook groups. And that tends to be the way that you actually meet someone that does it. You don't meet them because you're all just wearing Warhammer t-shirts in high school. It's not like when you meet people that are also into skateboarding when you're in high school. You just see other guys with skateboards and you end up skateboarding with them, or like bikes, or whatever it ends up being that people are like into. It tends to be when something is more popular in culture, you tend to just gravitate towards people that like that stuff. Like, it was easy to find people that also like listening to metal music when I was in high school because they'd all be wearing metal t-shirts, like it wasn't hard to do. Miniature wargaming doesn't really have like a club card that you can just see people doing. So it remains a little bit more niche. And that means that you've got this thing where you might be the only person that you know that plays miniature wargames. So there's been a couple recently that have allowed for solo play. For instance, Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, which I actually just uploaded another video for today, is one of the ones where there was a mode for playing it by yourself. And even Frostgrave has Dark Alchemy, which is an expansion where there was a 3-mission mini campaign designed for solo play. Joseph wrote one where you basically have your warband get dumped into the ruins of this alchemical factory, and they all get split up, and you have to try and fight your way out, fighting monsters and all kinds of various like hazards as you get through this thing. It tells a great story. And it's actually something that gave me an idea for my sort of like how to play expansion for my miniature game, which will be out sometime, probably around the time the miniature game actually gets released, sometime next summer, where you're learning the rules of the game through a solo campaign, a little mini narrative solo campaign. Because I don't think there's ever a better way to learn a miniature game than by actually putting it down and doing something with it. That's why Games Workshop includes these getting started books that are designed for solo play. It's designed to snap your models together, now put them on a table, doesn't matter what the table is, and here's what we're gonna do to learn the game. We're gonna move people around, we're gonna roll dice, and you're gonna learn the rules. So I think there is like, I don't say the technology, but there exists a formula for doing this, for making games with solo play. And it used to be that Games Workshop actually used to market games that way. There was a little tag called solo play that would go on to products, like Space Hulk had it. And it was a pitch for Space Hulk that you could play it by yourself. And so the idea was that the Gene Stealers became programmed. They ran a little AI, and the Terminators would try and fight the Gene Stealers. And it became kind of simple to beat the Gene Stealers at that point, because you always knew what they were going to do next. But that's okay. I mean, that's giving them kind of instinctive animalistic behavior. The Space Marines are capitalizing that, and you're getting the full Space Hulk experience just by playing with the solo roleplay rules that are in there. And the Warhammer Quest book has a fantastic third-party DM, basically, which is the adventure book, where it's all numbered paragraphs, and you're getting to learn the story as you go forward. You don't need this Dungeon Master to play the game, which I really, really enjoyed. So I think that the technology is there, sort of like, I guess, like writing-wise. There are authors out there that understand how to do it and how it can be useful. But I'm surprised it's something that isn't more of an option. It's usually a footnote, an afterthought, or an entry into a game. It's not something that's designed that way in and of itself. That being said, there are upcoming miniature games that are thinking about it. So for instance, Fallout Wasteland Warfare has acknowledged there will be solo play rules for it. So if you guys are excited about Fallout and the new miniature game, but you don't have anyone you know you're going to play it with, there's solo play rules. You'll be able to play tons of missions on your own, just out of the box with what comes in the starter set, which I think is super exciting. And it seems like there's maybe a bit more of an acknowledgement in the industry. That's something people might enjoy. Now, most board games don't tend to have it, but I think that some of these board game miniature game hybrids could really benefit from that, because it gives you that experience where, again, you're getting to try a miniature war game and you're getting to do it on your own terms without having to have an opponent and stuff like that. So I think that while it's certainly not something that is currently huge in the market, there certainly is a market for it. I do know people that enjoy solo wargaming rules, and actually it's been pointed out to me that that's something that some people are really excited about. They really liked that games were launching with that stuff, and it does seem like some of the mass market is picking up on that. So Fallout, for instance, in particular, has solo rules for its games. Would it fit every single miniature game? No, of course not. But for some of these smaller skirmish games, especially the storytelling ones, I think absolutely it's something that more businesses could probably either have as an expansion or have as an alternate play mode for some of their games. I think that's pretty cool. Jamblor says there's the Heroes of the Artillery Cluster solo co-op campaign for X-Wing as well that he really enjoyed. That's awesome. I didn't even know there was one for X-Wing. And I think that does kind of signal that there's stuff out there for it, and there's maybe an interest in doing it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on solo play and the idea of having one-player miniature war games. I think it's an opportunity. I think more people, it doesn't fit every game, but for the games that are small and that it would be appropriate for, I think it's something that could be added into more games, and it's certainly something that some companies are definitely looking for. So let's jump in and say hi to everybody in the chat and see who's here. We've got Anthony Lee, Ben, Grandpapa Nurgle, Tim Barry. We've got, who else? Scrolling down. They were the early birds. Randy St. Denis here. Daniel Sprinkle's here, but he's just jammed off to pick up his other kids. Jamblor's here, which is Victor. We got Matt Ligori. Mike Grimshaw's here. Who else is here? I think that's it that said hi in the chat. I don't see anybody else saying hi in the chat. Nope, that's it for now. Yeah, we'll say hi to everybody else in a bit. And Dave Taylor's here too. Dave Taylor says, this is an interesting note. I'm not surprised at all that no one is leading with solo play, as games are spread through social interaction and playing with other people. No, I absolutely agree that. You market the game best when it's played with other people. I think that what's interesting is more games are giving it as an option, or as a thing that you can try out. So that it's not so much this is aimed at solo play, it's if I don't have an opponent, let's remove that barrier to you trying out my game. And I think there's something valuable there is, again, it's just removing obstacles to more people trying something out. So for the Fallout game in general, there's not a ton of like market penetration right now in stores, especially for Modifius. Having the option of solo play rules when they did their big pre-order probably meant that there was people out there going, well, I don't know who I'm going to play this with, but if I can play it by myself and I like painting miniatures, why not pick it up? You know what I mean? I'm not worried about the fact that I don't know who else is going to play this game because I could try and play it myself. Seth Wallace is here, Jan Smith is here, everybody's here. Awesome, and we're saying hi. So let's jump into, while you guys chat about what we just talked about, the Survey Monkey, and see what kind of questions have jumped out. And you guys fire some questions in to the chat as well, and I'm going to start building some zombie Confederate soldiers in a second. Let's see what we got here. First question, and the name is Ashes to Barker, Xandries to Dust. If you could give career advice to a young Ash Barker as he started his journey working frontline retail at G-Dubs, what would you say? Man, if I could give career advice to him, I don't really know, because that Ash Barker already kind of knew that he was just going to keep doing what he liked. Because I was never going to get stuck in a job doing something I didn't like. I was pretty sure of that from the time I was very young, right? Like, I didn't want to do a job just because that job was the job I had to do. I wanted to do a job because I liked it. So I tended to, and it's funny, I actually turned down jobs at GW and didn't move into other parts of GW because of that too, because I really liked working with people. And I kind of figured that out about myself early on. Because there's kind of this idea that, like, you know, you're working frontline retail at Games Workshop. No, but someday I want to become a game designer. Well, no. If you're going to be a game designer, you should just go be a game designer. Go design some games. There's no logical progression from I'm manning a cash register to game design. You gotta actually go and work in game design and make some games if you want to be a game designer. So I think what I figured out a long time ago is I really like being with people, and I like working with people, and I was really good at, I think, just engaging with people. And so I was happy where I was. I don't think there'd be any real career advice I give myself except just, like, follow your gut. If you're happy and you enjoy what you're doing, then keep doing it. And if you're not happy and don't enjoy what you're doing, then it's time to go. You're done. You need to find something else to do, because there's no point in doing something that's that you don't enjoy, right? That doesn't make you happy. And that sounds pretty artsy fartsy, and it's not entirely true. Like, if we absolutely had to just, like, keep the lights on and keep the kids from freezing to death, I'd do anything. I'd dig ditches. I'd cremate bodies. I would clean up toxic waste. Like, there's a difference between, your career and a job. Sometimes you have to do jobs to get to where you want to be. But at the same time, if you're always pushing to want to do something that makes you happy, then that job just becomes another sort of like rung in the ladder of getting there. And you don't get stuck in that job either, because you're always trying to move towards doing what you want to do. And that's really it. I think that's my jam with jobs, because, like, not everyone has the opportunity, I think, to start off doing what they want to do for a career, but everybody has the opportunity to do it in their spare time, right? If you have spare time, if you want to be a game designer, then you should just be writing games, like, all the time. You should be writing games, trying out games, getting people to play your games, corralling your buddies into trying your games. Like, if what you're really passionate about is game design, then you got to go do it. It's just like anything else, like jogging, right? It only works if you do it. You're only going to become a good game designer by playing lots of other games and deciding what you like and don't like, and writing 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 and putting it in front of people, doing the scariest thing of all, which is taking the thing you made and sticking it in front of somebody and asking them to tell you what they think. And that is absolutely the scariest thing on earth, is being judged, because you're asking to be judged at that point. But the more you do it, the better you get. And it's something that you just have to do constantly, because it's like everything else. It's just like riding a bike. If you don't do it a whole bunch, then when it comes time that you want to do it for a career, you're just not ready. You've never done it before. What else we got? Well, apparently somebody in Toronto made that X-Wing campaign. That's cool. Ben says, I think that the rush for cooperative play, players versus game, it's not hard to throw in some quick modifications for that to be single player. Social interactions will work for me. That's true, actually. There are, and it's funny because I was just looking at a board game that I'm super jazzed about, that I'm going to probably ask my wife for Christmas, and I haven't asked for a board game in a long time, which is the new Mountains of Madness board game. And it's a co-op board game, and that is something that's in board gaming actually has become very, very popular, which is everybody against the game as opposed to everybody against everybody. Mountains of Madness is a sort of classic example of that, where you're leading an expedition to Antarctica to go see like the Lovecraftian artifacts, and the question is, do you go insane and die before you get the artifacts and get out? And so it's everybody against the mountain basically, as opposed to everybody against something else. And I think that's that is kind of a variation of solo play, because you can easily make it a solo game with a bit of schizophrenia for that one in particular, but a lot of games could probably be adapted to some solo play with that sort of a thing. And I think that what you probably see more often than not is people quietly doing that themselves, if it's already possible, if they don't have anybody to play with, just to give the games a try, just to give them a go. Or of course, co-opting their children and or significant others into playing games with them, which is how Ben will play Kingdom Death. Probably not with his kids. Matt Lagori says, the app support is one area where you see this grow. Fantasy Flight has been playing around with it with Mansions of Madness. That's interesting. I could see that's a thing where, Seth Wall said hi. Hi, Seth. Oh no, I said it a minute ago. I've scrolled up and scrolled down the wrong way. Apps could be an interesting way of doing that, because you could automate players through apps. Actually, when I've played Ticket to Ride with my wife in the iOS version, we've got the ability to add in third and fourth players that are controlled by the app itself. So that is something you can do, and you can always play against them as well. So there's that level of automation, and I've forgotten that a lot of board games recently have app support for a lot of the resolution stuff, so you don't have to even take the cards out. You just put the board down, put the pieces down, and start playing. And you can even automate the additional players. So that's a neat idea. Jan says, I'm a big fan of co-op like Massive Darkness and Zombicide Black Plague, as they can be played alone. Yeah, it makes sense. And then I've not played Mansions of Madness for ages. Vic says, yeah, I really like some of the co-op mini games come around. I like the idea of teaching people as well. Might be more receptive than playing against someone who knows everything. You know what, that's actually a good point, is that when you have co-op games, because you're cooperating with the people you're playing with, it is far less off-putting, isn't it? It's less likely that they're going to feel bad about the result, because the result is just whatever happened in the game. You're not being responsible for that result as the person teaching, because it's just you guys versus the game. You're equally responsible for success or failure as they are, even if you know what you're doing a little bit more because you've played it before. That's really interesting. Designing a co-op rule set for Necromunda and Mordheim was always a hobby horse of mine, but of course there's not enough hours in the day. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if it's funny, because the rivalries in that, there was a few co-op missions in Necromunda that were published in White Dwarf. There was Dead Till Dawn. You get dumped into the sump basically. Like you're a couple of gangs, like in the middle of a fight, and the entire floor of the dome they're fighting in collapses, and they get dumped into the sump, and the sump is just like full of zombies. And there's kind of like one like decaying hab that they all go and hole up in. And it gave you basically like a pre-programmed set of rules for the zombies, and it was like a number of rounds until not the sun came out, but like power came back on in that section or something like that, and the zombies all shambled off. And the idea was that you and the other gangs had to cooperate. So I know there's some stuff out there for that. There was also, it came from the sump, which was their version of The Thing, where there's like a giant like sump monster basically hunting everybody, and it could just like appear randomly during games, and then both gangs would have to stop fighting each other and fight the thing from the sump, which was cool too. You might notice when these bases are tabbed, so the North Star minis have like basing tabs on them. Instead of cutting the tabs off, which is just way too much work, I just wrap them in green stuff basically, and let the green stuff give me like a 3D dome to my base. Far, far faster. What else? Ben says, I did play Kingdom Death with my kids. Good for you. I just, you know what I think about Kingdom Death? It's too weird for me. It's got too much weird stuff in it. What else we got? Tried solo 2, known to celebrate astounding luck or good luck or bad. No, that's true. Kingdom Death solo, I can imagine, like, because there's so much stuff that's like random encounter or random event. You're not really cheering, because like you want everybody to be as excited about it as you, but if it's just you sitting there, it's maybe not the same experience. There is something for that. So let's jump back to, everybody's talking about X-Wing expansions now, so let's jump back to the mailbag and take another question from there. What's next? Son of Antarctica asks, as someone with experience in that industry, what do you think of Mantic as a company? I'm a fan, but I'm not sure how well they've set themselves up to be successful. I love Mantic's philosophy of basically taking their own spins on certain tropes in the industry. So things like Dead Zone, the sci-fi sports game. Sorry, Dreadball. No, Dreadball? Dreadball, not Dead Zone. I think Dead Zone's their skirmish game. I think what's interesting, though, is they have gotten kind of a reputation of being locked into crowdfunding. And that's how they're sort of like investing in new products. And that's good and bad. It's good, I guess, because for certain customers, they like that regularity of here's the next big thing. You can kind of get it all at once for this price. It's not as good for their relationship, I think, with retailers, because retailers, well, I'm sure there's something they can vet for in a Kickstarter. There's lots of Kickstarters now that are doing retailer pledge levels where, like, if you're a retailer, you can go and pledge for something. Retailers don't tend to like to wait for the product they just paid for. So instead of like waiting for thing to ship in a year, retailers are very much concerned about what am I going to sell in the next month. So it's not necessarily as attractive for a retailer to do an order of, you know, X number of units of whatever the next big thing is, as it is for someone sitting in their hobby basement being like, okay, what's the new cool, you know, board game or miniature game I'm going to play next year? So I think it's a bit tricky, that one. You've got a lot of like pros and cons on both sides, but once you get that sort of like Kickstarter reputation, it's going to stick to you, you know, and you need to have some regular releases to offset that. So I think for Mantic, the more regular releases they have, the more they have stuff coming out sort of generally throughout the year, the better they're going to be, because there's something that retailers can just be excited about bringing in and selling, as opposed to, you know, waiting for them to announce their next Kickstarter or whatever. So I love their products. I like their philosophy. They've done a great job with a lot of their licensed properties. I was surprisingly into the Mars Attacks game that Travis brought in. I really liked it. And there's also the Walking Dead game, which I'm about to give a try. I'm going to start painting that this week, actually, along with all of my HeroQuest stuff. I'm going to keep working on and plugging away at. So I'm trying to get this Dracula's America thing done. I want to get all these models so I can play this done, give this a try, and then I can be working on just like the odd mini for this here and there. And I've got the 2 warbands to give it a go, sort of like sorted and knocked out, which will be good, because then I can the Walking Dead and HeroQuest projects are much more numerous model wise. You need at least, I think the starter set for the Walking Dead comes with 18 models, because you get 4 bandits, you get Rick and Carl, and then you get 12 zombies in the box set, and that's the first leg of, for me, is 18 miniatures. And what's really great about that box set for the Walking Dead starter is that every zombie's unique. In every box, every zombie's unique. There's no duplicate zombies, which I'm actually really jazzed about, and the zombies themselves are really nice. So as a guy who likes having a huge collection of modern zombies, my collection of modern zombies has gotten a lot bigger, and I'm jazzed for expanding it and having no duplication, which is going to be really, really cool. So let's jump back to the chat and see what everybody's saying. What else we got? Going back up. The better versus each other games now put a better focus on keeping the losing players involved and excited in the game until the end. Yeah, it's funny, that is a thing. And we're not just talking about miniature games here, because 2-player miniature games is always going to be a winner and a loser, right? But I will agree with Ben in this case. The more you can make the person who's sort of down on their luck and not doing as well in any game feel like they're still engaged, the more replay value your game has. That's always been a criticism of games like War Machine, where once you're down in War Machine, like once you're on the ropes, you don't feel like there's anything you can do, and the game's just like a foregone conclusion. You're just waiting out like the conclusion of the game. And there can be games where you kind of know what the result's going to be on turn 2, but the game hasn't actually triggered like completion, so you're still working on it until the full end of the game. And that's not necessarily the best experience for the players involved, right? Like if you kind of like are grinding away to the end of the game, having to finish it, and you feel like you have to, not that you want to, that's not the most fun someone can have. One of the reasons I like Company of Iron is that that's a version of War Machine with that taken out, where one side can't instantly gain the advantage over the other, and you feel like you're just kind of watching a game conclude where you don't have a lot of control over what the conclusion is going to be, because you've taken so much damage or you're so behind the 8-ball during a turn that there's no way to come back from it. Whereas in Company of Iron, because it's one model goes, another model goes, one model goes, another model goes, you never get that sort of like wombo jump on the other army and destroy a whole bunch of them in one turn that leads to that feeling basically happening. The Walking Dead minis are tip-top, and it makes me excited for Star Saga. Well, I got some news for you then. I haven't unboxed it yet, but I just got a copy of Star Saga in the mail. And I will say that the miniatures for Star Saga, Ben actually saw them this weekend, look really, really nice. The quality of the models is ace. Like, the casts are really good, and what I really like about them is they're actually all in coded colors too. So I'm probably not even gonna wait to paint that one. We're just gonna throw down Star Saga and give it a go, because it looks really neat. It's got this kind of like Dead Space kind of vibe to it, where you're in this like the heroes are all in this like abandoned facility, and all kinds of things have gone horribly wrong, and you're fighting security, and you're fighting the xenomonsters, and it looks like it's going to be really cool. And of course they've done all the classic like Hero Quest tropes too. So you've got like the space dwarf, the space hunter, the space elf, wizard, fishman thing. Like it's all it all kind of follows that Hero Questy thing of where you have to have all of these things sort of to make an adventuring party, but they put a sci-fi twist on it, which is pretty cool. I love that these Confederate zombies have guns. Apparently, even though they're raised from the dead, they can all use pistols. So I'm guessing they're kind of like Day of the Dead zombies. Not Day of the Dead. They're kind of like not the original trilogy, the Return of the Living Dead zombies, where they could like drive cars and like talk and stuff. The Return of the Living Dead zombies were both hilarious and awful. And if you've never seen Return of the Living Dead, then I don't know, should you go watch it? I would say still go watch it. If you're a fan of zombie movies, Return of the Living Dead is pretty jazzed. It's about like these like punks find a bunch of toxic waste, and what we used to call the trash zombie comes out of it, which is this zombie that's just like, he's kind of just like dripping black goo and covered in rags, and then he goes around and starts infecting everybody else. But he also infects all the like punks, and they don't really turn into like undead zombies. They just kind of turn into these like punk. It's almost like a chaos thing, not like a zombie thing. They turn into like chaos zombies. I don't know. Without having you guys, I don't know if you guys have watched or not. Return of the Living Dead is a kind of a hard zombie movie to describe, but they're toxic waste zombies, not like space radiation zombies, like they kind of are hinted at being in the original Living Dead. But if you're a zombie fan, yes, you'll get the reference. These Dark Confederacy zombies appear to be Return of the Living Dead zombies, not Romero zombies, which is exciting. He says, zombies with tools, what's next? Zombie culture, zombie society? Hey man, zombies just trying to make a life for themselves, an unlife for themselves. I believe that was the whole point of Shaun of the Dead, is in the end the zombies all reintegrate into society. What was the other one? Fido? Fido was like that too. You had, was it John Cleese? No, it was Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly is a zombie, and he's like the helper zombie with, what's her name? Trinity from The Matrix, and that little kid. Oh my god, I've seen so many zombie movies, it's not even funny. I literally have like a movie for every type of zombie, which is ridiculous. Jan Smith says Bud the zombie had a pistol in Day of the Dead. It's true. Day of the Dead was like the only zombie which ever used a tool, which was Bud, because like that was the whole premise of Day of the Dead. That was the crazy doctors experimenting on him, and he eventually like kind of learns to use a phone, and he shoots the evil soldier at the end of the whole thing. And we decide, is Bud evil or is the soldier evil? And as in every zombie movie, the bad guys are never the zombies. The bad guys are other people, because the zombies just let us be ourselves. And the point of a zombie movie is to show us at our best and worst. And that the zombies are not really the bad guy, the thing enabling us to be the bad guys. As you saw in every Romero zombie movie, which was why they were all fantastic political satire. Jan said, The Return of the Living Dead is one of my favorite movies. It was pretty awesome. Return of the Living Dead is pretty great. There's been a lot of Return of the Living Dead movies too. Like a whole lot. There's not just one Return of the Living Dead movie. The first one sets up the premise, and after that there are a lot, and they get progressively more awesome or terrible depending upon how you feel about zombie movies. So Return of the Living Dead becomes either much more amazing or much more, oh my god, why are we watching this? Depending upon how you feel about terribleness in movies. If you think terribleness in movies is a virtue, then you may like that. Tim Bray says, try watching iZombie. The TV show, I've seen it. It's all right. It's not bad. It's okay. It's where the zombie girl eats brains and solves crimes. It's like CSI, I'm a zombie. It just seems okay. I'm not so into zombie TV shows. I didn't like what was the other one too? Warm Bodies. I didn't like sexy zombies. Sexy teen zombies didn't do it for me either. That wasn't the best. iZombie's my favorite TV show along with Z Nation. I like Z Nation because it doesn't even try and take itself seriously. Z Nation is so over the top. Like, it is 100% self-aware that it is ridiculous and just gets more ridiculous every single season. I still have it like DVRing, but I don't even remotely take it seriously anymore. It's like the thing I put on, and I don't even know if I could tell you what's going on in the plot now. I know that there's dude that in the very beginning who gets bitten and like becomes like the Cure, and then they go to like Cure Island, and Cure Island isn't really Cure Island, and his pancake batter covered daughter is still around with like her blue skin and like red hair. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's super duper bad. It is not the best. It is not the best TV show, but from that reason, I think that's probably why it's a good TV show. It's also terrible. There's like what's the guy's name? Doc, the like hippie, like long-haired bearded guy who's not really a doctor, but he carries a pharmacy around with him, so they call him Doc. What a show. What a show. What was the one that kind of failed, but it was really good? There was another sci-fi show, and it was about, and they did 2 seasons of it. And the first season was set in Antarctica, and it kind of had zombies. It was like this plague gets loose in this Antarctic research base, and these people are all there. And it had that guy from The Last Samurai in it as like a doctor, and he was super awesome. And there's like special forces dude, and like, oh man, what was that one called? It had a really good premise, I remember. And it kind of went all Umbrella Corporation at the end, which was okay. But then the second season, they went to like South America. It got all like super crazy. I'm gonna let you guys figure out what that one was. Wow, I see what the boy wants because he is awake for a second. And I'm back. He just dropped his, what's it called? His, he's got like a stuffed Woody from Toy Story toy. He like threw it out of his crib, and he was upset about that, and then he immediately went back to sleep when he got it back, so he's doing better now. So yeah, where was I? What was that TV show called? Helix. Mike Grimshaw says Helix. That's the one. It was Helix. And it had a really cool second season where they went to like South America, and there was this like crazy plant. It kind of followed like a Resident Evil vibe, which I thought was really, really cool. And the actors were actually pretty high quality. It was good for a sci-fi show. There wasn't a lot of sci-fi shows I was really into, but Helix was one of them that I was like, I hope they keep making more of these. And they did 2 seasons, and I think it got canned after the 2nd season. Yeah, did not go as well. And they refer to the infected as vectors. That's right, that's the one. Yeah. Yep, that was the one. That's what I'm thinking of. It was really well done, and I hope they do more of them because it was a cool premise, but I think it got canned. Sci-fi unfortunately tends to do that almost as bad as like Bravo and stuff like that, where like if it doesn't just like totally pick up in the 1st season, it's gone. It just gets killed. And that's too bad because I liked that show a lot. It had a lot of promise. I hope they don't do that to The Expanse because I'm enjoying The Expanse right now. And there's like 4 more books for The Expanse to go through, which should be a big deal. But The Expanse seems to have some money behind it, so hopefully that works. And I just finished, I haven't finished some more Flash here. Trying to finish off these remaining Zambos and get them built. And then you put some sand in the bases and they can get primed, which will be good too. The week has actually been interesting. We've got one big pre-order right now. We got Necromunda coming out soon, which kind of feeds back into that miniature board game thing that we were talking about earlier, where you've got 2 different play modes for it. Apparently though, the main, or the gang war expansion, does not have all the gangs in it. Does not have every single gang, which I was a bit surprised by. I was expecting it was going to give us the full gamut of like existing gangs, kind of like what they did. Although I guess they didn't do all of them in the first Death Zone for Blood Bowl. They did most of the gang, or most of the other teams. I think Amazons were in there, but they put them up as a free PDF. I think the Amazons were, maybe it was Lizardmen. I know there was 2 that when the first Death Zone came out, they put up like interim team rosters for it, just so you could play with them. It was like Teams of Legend or something like that. It'll be interesting to see if they do that for Necromunda, because there's a lot of people that are jazzed about Necromunda that want to use their old gangs, and I guess that's not all going to be in Gang War right away. But it does have the 3D terrain rules in it, which will be good, so people can get ready for that and start using their big gantries and walkways and stuff for Necromunda, which I think what everyone was expecting, and of course, it being a sort of Zor Mortalis on a flat board style board game is not sort of like the thing that everyone was kind of like, as soon as they heard Necromunda, the first thing that popped in their head was not board game. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited about it. It's got a 2-week pre-order period, so I think we see it on the 24th, and everybody's got copies now. They're unboxing it and stuff now too. So if I want to, I can probably go check it out. But I'll do what I usually do. I'll just wait until I can actually see it physically in my hands, because I don't hear what somebody else thinks about it. I want to actually open it myself. And then, what else is happening this week in Wargaming? I just saw a bunch of pictures of Company of Iron boxes that look neat. I don't know where they was from. I think Owen showed it to me. What was it? It was a picture of a whole bunch of different things for Company of Iron. And where were they? We saw the Knights Hospitaller for Infinity, and then there was also... Oh, apparently I can't go that far back in the chat. It's not loading for me. No, here we go. This is just all pictures of Owen sending me pictures of army lists for Infinity until I can actually find what I'm looking for here. Here it is. And I can show you this to you guys. You found this online somewhere. I'm not sure what it's from. But it looks neat. All of these boxes. Let's see if I can pull it up and show you guys. So this one's going to be this picture now. Let's see if I can actually show this to you. Change source B and add in picture. Add picture file from disk. I'm not super sure where these came from, but they look pretty cool. Where are you at here, picture? This, yeah, here we go. Right here, all these pictures of Company of Iron things. It looks like we got, oh geez, what is there? There's a Minions box, some Legion boxes, a Blind Water box, and they've all got the logo. They've all got the actual like Company of Iron logo, so I'm not sure what they're for. Maybe it'll be in an insider relatively soon, but this has shown up onto the interwebs and looks pretty neat. There's some Crix boxes, there's a Ret box. It looks like there's a box for every faction. There's a Privateers box. There's a Gata, there's like the standard box. Maybe it's just different packaging for the same thing. But it's super cool looking, whatever it is. I'm jazzed about it. Some kind of new sneaky thing. showed up on the interwebs for Company of Iron, and it looks pretty cool. So I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm jazzed about Company of Iron. And there's also that Company of Iron contest happening in the relative near future, where you've got 20-point and 25-point army competition, and your character gets made and sculpted into an official alt sculpt for War Machine, which I thought was pretty cool too. I've got that Trenchers box I really want to paint, and I might do that for that contest and try and get the Trencher Captain made into like an official like Trencher Captain model, which I thought would be really, really neat. So what's the chat saying? Wargames Train did a free shipping promo, so I grabbed one ready for Necromunda. Cool, yeah. I actually have the Wargames Train gantry system, which is really, really nice. And they're doing a new terrain set too. It's like a hab hideout module. I just saw when they just posted pictures of it. I think they're getting ready for Necromunda in a big way. It looks like it's like your gang's like hideout. It's like a little like hab with like ladders and like turrets and stuff on it, so you can like hide out and hide all your guys on it. That looks really neat. Anthony says, with the flatboard rules for Necromunda, I wonder if they'll work on Zone Mortalis tiles. They will. The tiles for Necromunda are a foot by a foot, so the Zone Mortalis tiles are the same size. You can 100% just play Zone Mortalis tiles and play Necromunda on them. No problems. And then you've got all that extra terrain and stuff that comes in the box too that you can use with it. So that actually be a really cool thing to do. I'm sure you'll see the guys at Mini Wargaming do that, because they have tons of Zone Mortalis tiles. They bought like 50 tiles, like a 6-foot table worth of tiles at some point. I guess I filmed a bunch of games on it, I remember, way back in the day. And that would mean that they could just do that pretty much right away, which I'm sure they will. I just saw they did some, I think in my feed I saw unboxing videos, because I think that's how I knew that stuff had gone out, because there was something in my feed saying Mini Wargaming was doing an unboxing video for Necromunda. And now let's put some sand on these bases. Let's do it. Have I got a scrubby old paintbrush? I do have a scrubby old paintbrush. Perfect. It's a Citadel layer brush that has seen better days. Seen better days, Lois. Seen better days. I'm gonna put some sand on here and throw this down. Anthony says I got too much on my hobby table to get super jazzed about Necromunda yet, but then again, I'm waiting for either Enforcers or Redemptionists. Once they drop, I'm there. I think you might be waiting a while for that, because even when the original Necromunda came out, those didn't come out until, oh geez, what was it? It was Outlanders for Redemptionists. So, and there was actually, the Necromunda Enforcer gang didn't actually exist until the second edition Necromunda, which was Necromunda Underhive. There wasn't anything in existence for Enforcers until then. There was Arbitrator rules, but the Arbitrator, you never actually got to play as the cops in Necromunda. They made someone a deputy, basically, and you could rat people out to them. But it basically just meant that you end up with a bounty on your head. So the way that it worked originally was, when you got outlawed, you became an outlaw gang. You lost all your territory because you had to flee down into the sump. And then you got access to the outlaw trading post instead of the regular trading post. And it became a lot harder to survive. Like, you couldn't just go like up to like Joe's Rat Burgers to eat anymore. So you had to feed your gang like off what you could buy. So your winnings got divided up into what it cost to feed and keep everybody alive, and then what you could actually go and take to the trading post. And you only ever had one territory, and they were all crappy territories, because you basically became an Outlander gang. And like the Redemptionists just always lived in the Outlands because they were already outlaws. The whole idea with the Outlanders gangs was they were the ones that were already like, they were already operating outside the law more so than just regular gangs are. So they didn't get all of the regular gang benefits of getting to live in a civilized-ish place. Not necessarily civilized, but civilized-ish. It was a place where you didn't have, I mean, you're in the Underhive still, but you're living inside like a community or a settlement or something like that. You're not just like out in the wastes having to fight for survive and occasionally get eaten by giant spiders. I'm interested to hear that somebody says, Jan says, I'm interested to hear that they've found John Blanche's long-lost sketchbook of Necromunda ideas that contains ideas for years and years worth of releases of all sorts of gangs. That sketchbook I don't think was actually for Necromunda. I think it was for Confrontation, because there's tons of gangs in Confrontation, like the Hive Brats and the Tech Gang, that kind of got transformed for Necromunda. And hey, Sarian's here. You actually can chat on mobile, Sarah. You just need to turn your phone into landscape mode, and you can pull the chat up. You actually swipe the chat up, and you can actually talk in chat, because weirdly I'm able to do that on my phone. I wonder if I can actually show you, because I've got my iPhone over here. Because what's weird is, in like an Inception-y kind of thing, I can actually go and watch my own live stream on my phone right now. Let's see what's happening. Let's see if I can do this. Is it actually live stream? Can I put it up on my feed? It is on my feed. My videos. There it is right now, live. Yeah, I can go and watch it. And so what happens is, you can see here is the live feed thing. There's a button down here. It says live chat. And you pop it up and there's the chat right there. So I can actually chat. I'll put something right now and be like, hey, Sarah, in the chat. Whoop. There you go. It just popped up. So you can chat on mobile. You just need to have the YouTube app and you can do it, no problem. And I think when you turn it landscape, yeah, you can actually watch it over top of, it pops up sideways over top of the actual chat, which is like super weird. Yeah, it can be done. I know because I discovered I was actually able to, you know why I knew that? It's because there was that one of these we did and the power kept going out, and the only way I could talk to you guys when the power went out was to get on my phone and be like, now I'm talking to myself. And the weird thing is when the power would go out, it wouldn't like stop the episode, because the only way I could actually end the stream was to go back online and go to the actual like control room and end it. Because the power was out, I couldn't do that. So the stream was just like infinitely going with nobody able to like watch it, or nobody able to like contribute to it. And the chat was still going too. And we were in this like weird like time loop basically. And the only way I was able to communicate was with you guys with my phone. So that's why I discovered that was the weird story about how I was able to like get this to work on my phone and figure out how to do it, which is why I knew that you could do it. And then after that, people would be like, I'm riding the bus, and like post stuff in the chat. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm riding the bus. I'm hanging out. All right. Ragged Confederate Soldier 2 has now gotten Santa on his base. Let's move on to Ragged Confederate. I did Colonel Sanders already because he's awesome. I like the fact that he's got a sword cane. I feel like every Southern gentleman that is now a necromancer like just has to have a sword cane for some reason. I can't decide what I want to call him. I might name him after who is Don Johnson in Django? What was the name of that guy? Don Johnson's like character, plantation owner in Django. Something suitably evil and terrible. That'll be his name. And Ragged Confederates. And I actually have this Confederate officer miniature that Joey from This Is Not a Test had sculpted. He sent me a long time ago, and I had no idea what I was ever going to do anything with, and he's going to join this warband too. He's also going to be in this warband as an officer. I guess as like the sergeant or whatever in here. Randy Santini says, I need the Guerrilla Miniatures Discord channel. I don't even know what that is. People tell me about Discord, and I assume it's like a way of having chat groups. That's what I've been told Discord is, because I know Owen uses Discord for playing video games, but I've never heard of it, so I don't know what it is. It's, again, these are the things I don't do, but I'm assuming it's like a way of doing group chats that also has voice or something like that. So tell me in the chat, what is Discord and why should I care about it? Because I assume it's just another thing that I'm old and don't understand. Daniel Sprinkle says, "Does Native American South zombie rebels interest me?" Yeah, well, the South will literally rise again. That was the whole joke for this game, is that they embrace necromancy so that they can rise again, which I think is the best tongue-in-cheek joke ever. And so the Dark Confederacy gang always gets D3+1 zombies that just join the gang to keep fighting, and they're all like dead Confederate soldiers with pistols basically, because they've got the manual dexterity to still use a pistol, which is neat. You get extra dudes. Right, back to Survey Monkey. I think this is our last Survey Monkey question for now, so let's jump into it and see what we got. Nice knife, Mr. Burton says, do you think Corvus Belli will start using plastic in their full lineup or just for their board games? I don't think they have any intention of using plastic in their lineup. I think the plastic is something that it's almost necessary in board games, because you're creating a big purchasing hurdle to board gamers, to non-miniature wargamers, if you have your board game with like, I have to build the metal minis. That's a big ask for most board gamers, whereas the actual Aristea board game, you can just crack open, and they're even pre-assembled. Like, they're ready to go right out of the box. It's pretty board game standard to open it. I don't think you're going to see those two things across. The great thing about Corvus Belli, one of my favorite things about them, is they're very industry aware, and they don't do very much without thinking about it a lot first. So they tend to know what they're doing or know what they've decided to aim for when they make a product, and their products tend to be very well thought out. They don't waste resources. They don't experiment. They go, here's our plan for this. Here's who it's going to cater to. Let's make a product that does that. And some great examples of that are things like Red Veil and Ice Storm, where they realized, I think, after their first and second editions, that one of the big barriers to their games was people didn't own necessarily the right terrain to try it out right away. And so they created a starter set that removed all the barriers to playing Infinity in one go. It had a great follow along, learn to play, how to play book in it. It had a fantastic bunch of terrain in it. It had 2 really interesting armies with lots of things to try in it. It had tokens in it. It had rulers. Like, it was a really well thought out box, because you didn't need anything outside of that box apart from just like to glue your minis together. Like, you needed hobby tools basically to try playing the game. You didn't have a mat in it, so like you could try playing the game like right off the jump. And I think that's a big idea. The same is kind of applying to Aristea. They have a clear vision for what they want this product to be, and they've done their best to make it fit who they want buying it and how they want to try and market it, I guess. Sarah Ann says, okay, question now. I am almost done painting my very first crew from Alpha, so Parker Barrows, because they are Cowboys. What is a good option to flesh out in 50 points while keeping in the Wild West theme? Oh, this is one for you, Ben. It's a Malfo question, buddy. So you're trying to outlaw Cowboys. Outlaw Cowboys. Well, here's a handy thing. This is another plug. I now have the Malifaux app on my phone. I can actually, it's funny, I haven't been able to look at cards from Malifaux in ages and actually know if they're up to date or not, but now I can, because the Malifaux app on my phone will tell me exactly what's available for outcasts. We were just actually doing this, Ben and I, this weekend after our 2 games, when I played 2 games with Hamlin, and I was like, okay, I don't like Killjoy anymore. Killjoy disappointed me. And so we were looking at like what other options were basically floating in that 13-point range, 15-point range, because I had some studs in my cache as well as to what I wanted to take. So let's say we wanted to take Parker Barrows. We'll add him in, and highly recommend this, Sarah, if you've got the new Malifaux app. It is fantastic. Okay, well, it's not letting me do anything there. So let's go back. Crew list, new crew. Gonna do outcasts. Let's create it. Master's gonna be Parker Barrows. We're gonna add him in. And we're gonna add some recruits. So you got Ashes and Dust. He's a big monster. Big Jake's a good one. Big Jake's just a cool model, and he's got this thing where he comes back to life. I thought you were dead. He's a fantastic. He sticks to that Old West theme, and he's got a really handy bunch of scheme running stuff like Don't Mind Me, where he can make interaction actions while he's engaged. I'll finish this fight, and when determining how many VPs the smallest controller gains from a strategy, he counts as 2 models. So like when you're trying to run the main strategy, like he's an extra dude basically. And he's got a tactical option, which is consult the ancestors. This model may suffer 2 damage to look at the top 2 cards in its deck, and then place both in either order on top or in the discard pile. So if you need to know what your next flip's going to be, he can cheat the deck basically to make sure you know what the top card is going to be. Or if you don't like either card, it's like a 1 and a 2, just chuck them both in the discard pile, and you'd have a better option of flipping high on your next one. So he's great. Convict Gunslingers are always fantastic. Ben's a big fan of Convict Gunslingers, so am I actually. Just because they get plus flips on everything. Like, they're good shooters. They got quick draws and defensive things. They can actually do damage when someone attacks them. And then their plus for their attack action works in melee and in whatchamacallit, and in range attacks. So highly recommend Convict Gunslingers and Big Jake if you want to keep that to go to 50. Any combination of them, like you get 2 Convict Gunslingers in a box, I'm pretty sure, and that's 14 points. And it's another, I think it was 7 or 8 for Big Jake, and he's super handy as well. Either one of those or both would take you to 50 easily. What else we got? Discord. So Randy Santini says Discord equals channels for people to chat, voice or text, and you can have different channels. For example, strategy, painting tips, train, other than that, and then all GMG folks can help each other real time. Interesting. Okay, well, Discord gets used a lot for WoW. Each class having its own Discord server with various channels. So what can we do with Discord? That's an interesting idea. So you guys are patrons. What would we want to do with Discord? Discord could be handy for what? It sounds like the kind of thing that would be good for something like actually, you know what would be good to have a Discord channel would be the painting resolution one. People are all painting together. They can chat. They can have painting nights. That actually would be a bad idea to have a Discord channel for. What else? We could do a patron Discord channel. I'm trying to think of what else we could do Discord channel for. Talk about it in the comments. Talk about it in the chat and talk about it in the comments. I'm trying to think of what I do already that would be useful to have like a big discussion group where people can get together in real time and talk about stuff. Ben says Undead Bandits are big with him. Sorry, not one of my favorites. Not a lot of advice. Mad Dog. Oh, and Sue. Yeah, Sue's not Clint Eastwood. Sue's supposed to be Johnny Cash. So it's a boy named Sue, Johnny Cash. Mad Dog's great. Big Jake's great. Sue can be good as well. Yeah, and they all fit there too. Convict Gunslinger's great. Those are also fantastic. Oh, and Anthony says Discord is also free. Well, there we go. Free's good. I like free. I'm sure there's some kind of advertising or sitting on it, which will make it. There's got to be a reason they're able to do that for free. It's got to be earning them income somehow. But if it's free for us, then that's fantastic. So we'll have to check it out. I didn't really know anything about Discord, so I'm excited to hear that that's an option. If you guys want to be talking to each other and being able to do that in real time, that's a good thing to do as a hangout. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll start off. I'll make a Discord channel for the Guerrilla Games Hobby Resolutions group. That's one where there's people always painting and doing like painting stuff and posting updates and stuff. So having like a painting hangout Discord channel and people are just wanting to hang out and paint, that's I think useful. And then we could do maybe a painting hangout one and a hobby advice one. Those two, and people can just sit in them and chat however they want to do it. And I will just observe because I have no idea. I have no idea about any of that stuff. So we'll see what it is. And yeah, Ben says Sue's Johnny Cash. Even his power's named after his songs. He's got Walk the Line, Ring of Fire, all that stuff. Sue's what I've been meaning to buy for a while actually, just because I love Johnny Cash and I lived in Memphis for years and years. So exciting. Mallory says, do people use Discord for text or voice chat? I know some people are diehard fans. I've just never used it. Wow. Matt, I'm in the same spot. I don't know anything about it. I'm assuming it's probably both. If it's probably used more for voice chat, I'm betting. Maybe text chat. I don't know. It seems like the kind of thing that would be useful that people would use for video games, because then they could chat outside the game servers. So like you can always be talking to each other in like team games and stuff like that. Seems super useful. And I'm sure it can be used for both. But yeah, I don't know what I do that would be useful for it, apart from maybe the painting thing, doing the paint resolution group. That would be one that would be handy. All right, so we're done. We're through the Survey Monkey. I think we're coming up on an hour, and the boy is finally quieted down, and I'm out of models to build, so I'm gonna start building monsters. It's time to start building monsters, because I still have monsters to build, which is gonna be this guy. Where's the last of the pieces for them? It's time to build. You're not monsters, your congregation. Where's the big crazy monsters? The big crazy monsters are over here. There it is, the Manitou and the big crazy demon. So we're gonna build those guys. I think he's the Manitou. He looks like a Manitou. He's got like big horns and stuff. Yeah. And then the big crazy demon. I might have to dig out his head because it came in a separate bag. So I think it's down here. No, don't fall, Mike Pack. Bits and pieces flying everywhere. I'm all discombobulated since my mic exploded. That was, everything was set up so nicely, and then I had to go dig out that mic. And unfortunately, that caused everything to get kind of out of whack from the beginning of this whole thing. Because the head for these came in a different box in this envelope right here. Was missing some pieces. There's the demon head. Perfect. So now we can build Crazy Demon Man. Yeah, he's pretty cool actually, because he doesn't even have eyes. He just has like horns growing out of where his eyes should be, I'm pretty sure. Maybe his eyes are down lower. I don't even know. He looks like a demon from some kind of movie. I'm excited about this. This demon's pretty awesome actually. On a different note, Randy Anthony says, I just got my monsters from Creature Caster. For anyone interested, the models are of an amazing company and a Canadian-based company. Creature Caster, never heard of them. Do they do 3D prints? Is that what they're for? So they take 3D designs and do prints of them? That sounds neat. Actually, speaking of that, that's something that Steamforge is now doing. If you have a 3D master, so if you have something that's like ready to go, so someone's sculpting you something in a 3D program, you can get Steamforge to print you production grade casts of the thing that you're trying to get into production. So they've now got the technology. They've invested in the technology where they have a printer that does like production grade masters. So if you've got your thing done, you've got your file, you can basically rent time on their printer to get it printed. And they've started advertising that. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's a neat thing that they've got going, where they're going to start basically, I don't say making their technology available to other people, but the biggest difference there is not just that they have that printer with that level of technology, but they have people running that printer that know how to do it for miniatures. Because the technology can be great, but if the people operating the machine don't know how to make it work for miniatures, it's not going to be as good as it possibly could be. And Steamforged obviously know what they're doing, because they do. That's their bread and butter, is taking 3D masters and turning them into miniatures. And they've done a fantastic job of it recently with the new plastics. Actually, they just spoiled at SteamCon. They're going to be doing a at SteamCon, they're going to be doing a run of their new stuff. And I'm hoping someone can ninja the blacksmiths for me, because they're doing the new 6-player expansion for the blacksmiths team for Guild Ball, and I'm pretty jazzed about it. But they've got the expertise to make great masters, and obviously turn those into fantastic models, because the new blacksmiths were some of the nicest, definitely the nicest pre-assembled plastic miniatures I'd ever painted in my life. And just nice kind of miniatures on their own regard. So the technology and the skill that's going into that stuff there's attention to detail there, and that's fantastic. Ben says, any plans for running more tournaments or making some official GMG tourneys? I still do Infinity tournaments. I just ran an Infinity tournament at SkyCon, and my job as a workhorse, I try and do at least 5 events a year. But I don't know. I want to do more of those sort of intimate tournaments that are hosted by the Key Creek here in Niagara Falls. And I'm thinking some of these new board game hybrids are going to be great for it. So what I might do is I might do a Shadespire and Aristea events coming up in January. Probably no events for me until after the holiday season's over, because obviously the holiday season's busy for everybody. And it's just not like a good time to like book a venue. It just sounds like it's a poor time to do that kind of stuff. But in January, I want to do some events. So I'm thinking Shadespire, I'm thinking Aristea. I might do something again for Dark Age, or maybe some of the other skirmish games that are coming up. I still want to kind of like keep it for doing GMG events to events that no one else would do. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna run an event, it should be for something that, like, I know there's guys locally that play it, but like, no one else is going to run an event for this. You know what I mean? Like when I did the Frostgraves events, it's not good. There's not going to be a lot of events and activities for that locally. I'd rather do something fairly unique. And that's my plan. So I'm excited about all these board games coming up. I think they look really, really cool. Aristea in particular is I think a great like event board game. And the event event rules for it look like they're going to be really cool. So I don't know. I'm going to try and get more people together. That's the plan. And just do some more sort of like low-key stuff. The nice thing about the board game style stuff is it really translates into that space well, because you don't need a ton of table space to do it. Although I have the folding tables to do 4-foot games for sure. We'll see. Yeah, the GMG Invitationals, that's what they become called. So he says, come on guys, I have too many models already, quit tempting me with new games. And then he says, I think this is the wrong crowd for avoiding that kind of temptation. No, I think that's true. We're definitely in the spot where we are all the people that like playing all the different games. So you are going to be enabled in that regards in this place. I don't think you're going to find a lot of people trying to talk you out of buying more miniatures around here. That's not the usual MO for this chat. That's for sure. All right, we're coming up on an hour, and it's mostly just turning into chatting in the chat. I think we're just about getting done. I'm almost done building these guys. I'm gonna finish building this demon, and I think we're gonna solo out. Haha, like hanging at a bar while trying to quit drinking. Yes, not an effective tactic. Don't if you're gonna try and quit drinking. If you're gonna try and go dry, don't hang at the bar. The bar is not the right place for that, for sure. All right, big demon guys getting put together. And we're just about done. Perfect. All right, so other things coming up. I've got a project I want to finish up. What I'm trying to do right now is I've got like in my head big projects and little projects. Now, the nice thing about Dracula's America, it's not a huge project. It's a project that once the war bands are done, so we can give the game a go, it becomes like, hey, every time I film a game, let's paint another critter for the game. You know what I mean? Like, I can do like a model or two a week and keep adding to it and filming games, and it'll be fun. Or let's just paint like what we need for this scenario. This scenario needs X or Y piece of scenery or whatever. So once the warbands are finished, it's done. Same is going to go with scrappers, which I'm hopefully going to be finally getting to in the upcoming weeks. I was actually chatting with my buddy Greg, who's got a case full of minis that would be perfect for it, and I've got my minis already assembled and airbrushed, and just need an excuse to paint them. And those are quick projects. And then on the sidelines, we got big projects, things like, obviously, the Hero Quest project's a pretty big project. It's like 60 models. The project for, what was the other one? I was just talking about it. The project for Cremona is relatively big because it's 20 models. It's 10 models in the gangs aside, plus you've got the scenery and stuff on top of that. So I'm trying to get like these, like I just finished a big project. Let's jump into and do like a small project in between to like cleanse my palette and then get something new on. And that's really it. Ben asks, any news in the studio expansion plans? Well, no, because we're there's no plan to make the studio bigger right now. The studio needs to get bigger. It's going to need the patronage to get bigger, because unfortunately, my current level of patronage is not my goal. But I've kind of taken the leap into the studio expansion already. The nice thing is I'm subletting to the people that were already subletting to the back. So I have the space, I have the lease now in my studio, which means I'm there for at least 3 more years, but I'm still subletting the actual warehouse space in the back, which is what we'd expand into to offset the rent numbers. Because money basically hasn't changed this year, and the US dollar taking a big hit and not trading as high this year has meant that's also affecting me, affecting everything that happens. So we're kind of in a place where we didn't grow that much this year, but I'm gonna bet we're gonna keep growing, hopefully. And so I'm locked into the lease, but the actual studio expansion won't happen unless I continue to grow. So I'm hoping it will. I've set up everything in stone to make that happen, hopefully over time. But it's in a stable place right now. We're actually growing the space thing. So we have the space if we need it, but that means not having a subletter and significantly more costs per month. Same with things like wiring the studio for internet. That's a significant growth marker. Like, I want to be able to do live streams from I like to be able to live stream games once a week from the actual studio, but that needs like a high-speed broadband internet, access point, and all this other stuff that needs to happen. So I have the ability to do that stuff going forward, but right now I've kind of put everything into place where it doesn't. We don't have to grow. Like it's the next place to get to, but we're okay for now. We're just swimming in stuff, and as Ben knows, the studio is just entirely packed full of stuff. Mike Grimshaw is asking if any more Guild Balls in the pipe. I'm enjoying those matches. Yeah, we got more Guild Ball. Get another game recorded, and hopefully more people coming in to play it relatively soon. Nathan and I tend to play it quite a bit, and also I just played with Spencer, who's down from up north, so we played some games as well. So you've seen those. That's really it. Those are my questions. So I think we're going to sign off. I finished building all my dudes, and we're going to call this one for today. So big thanks, you guys, for being patrons and for hanging out with me today and doing some painting. I've got 3 zombies built, 4 more Dark Confederates built, a Stitch Dock built, and we're pretty much locked and loaded for the Dark Confederacy to get it built and painted. So that's coming up this week. I got all of my stuff for the Twilight Order done, and we can start filming some stuff for the Dracula's America, which I'm pretty hyped about. I got to make my tokens and stuff too. Actually, that's on the agenda too. I got like the accessories. I need like 9 dice on each side, 12 dice on each side, 4 different colored D6s, D8s, D10s, so that each side kind of has them, and then do the tokens and the accessories and stuff too. But that's all easy stuff. I just need to find a website to order dice from. So anyway, big thanks for being patrons. Big thanks to everybody that watched this later on. We'll see you for another week next week on YouTube. There'll be a mailbag link in the video description below when this goes live to get your questions in for that. So we'll see you next time for more of this. Till then, I'm Ash. Happy wargaming.